and my name is Mike Hess. I am the Executive Director and Founder of Blind Institute of Technology. My career, my background is all tech, so all private industry. So back in the day, I was a coder, project management, network engineer, and Cisco certified. So I've done a breadth of technology over my career. However, as I was getting into my 40s, just recognized that I was generally the token blind guy in all the organizations. And so I did what any rational human being would do, is I left a six-figure income with a small child at home to start a business that's solely focused on helping people with disabilities find employment. And I'm sure there's a few rational human beings in the crowd somewhere that would do the same thing. However, we act as a small business, period, and we have a blend of products and services that we offer to large and small companies all over the country to do exactly that, meet the mission of helping people with disabilities find employment. We have a trifecta of products and services that are from education through opportunity that help organizations truly get people with disabilities involved into their organization. And you're going to hear today that it's truly the medium is accessible technology.
So I'd like to jump in here and say that, we've got the small business and we have, our mission statement and our goal and our products and our pipelines. Mike enjoys dreaming all of this stuff up. And from the ops side, I can tell you it's not all smooth sailing to actually get all of this working. So we have all of the typical challenges facing a normal small business or nonprofit. We also have to solve for them in an accessible fashion. Not only do we need to enable, someone like Mike to actually do his job himself rather than throw it over the fence to me, but we also have a lot of employees on our team who have disabilities themselves, typically blindness or visual impairment. And we need to make sure that they can contribute their full efforts to the team. So I want to stop for a sec now because we've been throwing around this word accessibility and talk to you a little bit about what accessibility means. So accessibility is going to mean products, physical environments, services, anything you use or interact with. It's going to be designed with everyone in mind, regardless of any given set of physical or mental capabilities. So some physical real-world examples might be wheelchair ramps, so that people with a variety of abilities when it comes to mobility can use your physical environment. With television, an example we might see are something like closed captioning, so that people who are deaf can actually watch and enjoy television content. With something like web development or technology tools, how that translates is largely being compatible with assistive technologies, many of which are, for instance, screen readers or screen magnification devices that people with visual disabilities rely on. This might take the form of alternate text for an image, for instance, so that someone can understand visual content in the image even if they can't read it. And I'd also like to stop and talk a little bit about the value of accessibility. I don't want to talk about this just because this is what BIT sells and what we offer to our customers, though it is what we sell and what we offer to our customers. But accessibility unlocks talent and customers. In 2016, there was a report done that estimated there were over 1.3 billion people worldwide with some disability. That's a huge population, far more than the size of the United States. They collectively controlled $8 trillion in wealth. Pretty big customer base that we definitely want to take advantage of. It furthers diversity and inclusion. We have an incredibly diverse team with people of all different perspectives and problem-solving capabilities, giving us multiple insights into problems that we wouldn't ordinarily think of. In fact, you're going to see through the demo that a lot of our solutions were created precisely because we had diverse outlooks, and they benefited everyone, leading to the final point, improvements for everybody. Accessible design is good design for everybody. It improves the world for all of us. Wheelchair ramps are not just nice for people in wheelchairs. Closed captions, I don't know how many of you use closed captions when you're watching a Netflix movie. I use them all the time because you'll get a really loud explosion and then you'll get really quiet dialogue. I used to have to think, why would they make movies like this? Now I can just read the text. These things improve products for everybody, And you'll see that BIT's solutions leveraging G Suite do the same. All right, back to our challenges. Small business challenges. We have to build contracts. We've got to manage our accounts. We have to track employee time. We have to manage our books. We've got P&Ls just like anybody. So we have to solve for these challenges like any small business. We have the added challenge of making sure solutions are accessible. And by the way, when I say small business, the small is not kidding. We don't have Google's budget or anything like that. I mean, Roger, unless you want to throw us some cash. So we can't break the bank doing it. We can't afford to hire a full-on development team to build all custom products for us. We can't necessarily afford to pay for very expensive products that were created by companies purely with accessibility in mind. We have to get a little bit scrappy. So enter G Suite. G Suite embodies something that we like to tell organizations all the time about accessibility, which is make sure you use what you get for free. Free is a wonderful word. When we're talking about web accessibility to companies, we always say, you know what, don't reinvent the wheel. You get a lot of stuff for free from stock HTML. G Suite gives us a lot of inbuilt accessibility and a lot of tools for free, all with the accessibility already baked in and managed by Google. So one of the things that really gave us an advantage and what we'll largely be talking about is that G Suite goes deeper than just the front-facing products and services like docs and sheets and forms. There's also behind this a whole lot of developer offerings like AppScript, APIs, integration with other products, add-ons. And it turns out that what we realized is that it would make sense to leverage these, very low level of effort involved, to route our blind users through accessible interfaces in G Suite, and then use the APIs to leverage it so that it can talk to our CRM, it can generate documentation for us like contracts, it can be used for time logging, so that someone like Mike interacts through a very accessible form, say a Google form, but instead is really uploading data into a CRM. Or Mike puts some information into a form and instead is generating a statement of work. The rest of our talk's going to be showing you a couple of those solutions. Stop listening to me talk so much and actually start seeing something interesting. Or hearing something interesting, depends on the ability. So first we're going to take a look at a contract generator. Then we're going to take a look at our solution using G Suite with client management. So our contract generator, I want to give you a little bit of background on this. The user story here is that Mike is actually successful when he goes into one of his meetings, right? Goes into a sales meeting, does his job, sells someone like Roger that, hey, you know what, we're worth working. We can provide some value for your organization. And what's the first question you tend to get, Mike? What's the next step? You've made your sale?
It's just like any other small business owner out there, anybody else in the world of sales, right? So they're wanting to know, okay, cool, this feels good. Let's get something on digital ink. Let's get a statement of work going so we understand what products and services that we're agreeing to. So just like any other small business owner out there.
Yep. So 2 years ago, I joined BIT and I started in on this. And we've got some early attempts that I'd like to talk about. I will try not to sound like I'm venting. So our initial early attempt was the naive approach. What do? You need a new statement of work. You go, okay, I've generated one of these before. I generated one of these for my last organization. There's a lot of sort of legal language and tricky clauses in there, so I'm going to take this previous one, copy it, and then change various parameters. Well, there's some problems with that. The first, and this absolutely never happened to us, is maybe you forget to change a company name somewhere. Whoops.
Never did that.
Never did that. Not a great look. A second is that this process is actually not terribly accessible. Statement of works, they run many pages long depending on how complicated the services are. Google Docs is accessible for Mike, but reading through with a screen reader to edit it and having to control things like formatting, whether text is bolded, whether text is sized properly, whether it's a heading, these are not things that Mike is instinctively able to do with a screen reader. Some techies are perfectly capable of doing it, but you'll see Mike on that side. So as a screen reader user, this isn't very accessible, so instead that all come over the fence to me or some of our other teammates. And ultimately, there were these problems because it wasn't accessible. We always had to give it to someone who was sighted on the team, wasn't very efficient, and prone to mistakes. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get clever. I happen to know how in Microsoft Word, I can create edit text fields and lock the document aside from those edit text fields. I'm going to think this is the way where I'm going to make sure I never forget to change a company name again. I'm going to highlight everything in yellow, and I'm going to use templates. Then a couple templates in, I realized that, uh-oh, I'm going to end up generating 20 of these because every different permutation of services is going to have its own template. The text is locked. It's still, you know, somewhat accessible for Mike, but you have a problem now. We're a G Suite shop. We're a Google shop. We don't want to be working in Word ideally. And guess what? When we're using these, they're offline. So now people are attaching them in emails but forgetting to upload them to Drive so other people can't find them. Again, less than ideal solution. So what came out of this is we have a few system requirements that we need from any contract generation process. We need it to be efficient. We need it to generate high quality contracts that are free of mistakes. And we need it to be accessible so that any of our teammates, including my boss, can actually do it for themselves quickly. G Suite turned out to be a terrific tool for doing this. So how we work, you see a little shot of, build on form submit. Essentially how this works is we use Google Forms to input parameters. So Mike might input the name of a client, who the client contact is, their email address, a few bits of information like that. I coded some app script behind this that then grabs all that information and swaps it into placeholders in a Google Doc template for our contracts. And in a matter of minutes, a finished Google Doc is born, formatted, company logo, completely customized to our needs, that lays out a clean statement of work ready to serve as a starting point for negotiations, or if we're really lucky, someone will just sign it right out the gate. Right? I would like to show you this a little bit. So Mike's going to start off. I'd like to talk about the format of the demo a little bit before you touch your screen reader or touch it. Go ahead. So Mike's going to show you how he does this with a screen reader a little bit. I'm going to play along on the desktop.
Edit box, client contact. This is a required quest. Showing English, US QWERTY keyboard. F, out of capital R, capital L, O, 2, V, G, together, W, E, Roger, R, R.
So he's typing Roger in there. We're going to send Roger a fairly hefty bill.
Space, B, Bravo, B, S, E, E, space, N, N, Z, Benz, Z.
So Mike just filled out a form entry. How was it?
Google, edit box, client, enlist, 8 items.
So as
Double tap to enter text.
So as a sales guy, right, and ultimately that's what I am, our product happens to be people with disabilities, happens to be accessible tech, and the medium to get people with disabilities employed is accessible tech, right? So it's very cohesive. And so literally when I leave sales meetings and we're generating statement of works 2, 3 a week. So the good news is as a small business, we're being fairly effective. However, in this economic climate that we're in right now, 4% unemployment rate nationally, right? Organizations, they're chomping at the bit, literally, to get talent anywhere they can. And the people with disabilities talent pool just happens to be one of the last talent pools that people are fishing in. And so they are coming to us to say, you know what, we're okay with this. You can help us make this happen. And that's what they do. So we're literally signing contracts 2, 3 a week, which is fantastic. However, the pressure on me to be able to be productive and not just toss stuff over the fence, that's where accessible tech, so people with disabilities, i.e. me, can still be productive at the same rate as their fully able-bodied peers. The medium to that is accessible tech.
So I'm going to walk through now how we can build a statement of work. I'll build it right in front of you in about a minute. So Mike filled out one of these forms. He put Roger Benz in there. I'm going to continue that. I'm hiding Roger's email. He was nice enough to help get us this sponsor or the speaking gig, so I'd feel bad throwing his email out to the public. So we're going to request some accessibility audit services. Not bad enough not to bill him a significant amount of money though, right? And we'll select an audit package. So a lot of what we do for accessibility audits, for instance, as I move through this, is provide accessibility audits for digital content under the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So we'll say up to 10 web pages. We're testing google.com. I'm going to give them most of the extras. I'm sure he wants the additional browsers of Chrome, Internet Explorer. Roger, I think you need a lot of support, so I'm going to put in like 5,000 extended support hours.
10,000.
All right, I'll make it 10,000. Okay, we'll just put a single URL in there. Clearly, it's going to take us 10,000 hours to test google.com. No further audits needed. So we'll move to the next screen. It's going to ask us things about whether or not we want on-site accessibility consultations. Not right now. Education services, some staffing services. I think with the 10,000 hours, we'll be able to hire enough people ourselves that we'll get the staffing in. And then final, some invoice terms, net 30, invoicing, fine, submit. And once this has been submitted, I'm going to pop into the statement of work folder. I created a special folder for this one. May have to refresh a couple times just to make sure we get it in there, but we should be, oh, lovely, it's generating triplicates again. You should look at that, Roger. It's just started doing this morning. Thought I'd fixed it. Okay, so here's the finished one. It does still get a correct one in there. 12/17 Google, April 2019. And we see here we get a cleanly formatted document, got a project title, client administrator. It has appropriate MSA statements. There are actually 3 MSA statements depending on whether we already have one or we need one generated. It can attach appendices to all this. Our services are cleanly laid out. There's actually behind the scenes in the template file probably 10 paragraphs here for different types of services, and we just clean out the ones that we don't need. And we have, the billing's automatically generated. So Roger, you can afford $750,000, right? Yeah? Cool. So we've got a subtotal for this. The real charge was, the 10,000 hours. Grand total, builds a fee table for us, lists out all the extras that we have in there, has the invoicing contacts in place, or leaves placeholders if need be, if there weren't any information pieces in there. And now we have a signature page. So we just generated a statement of work in an accessible fashion that Mike can use, that he can have ready to email over to a client before he gets out of his Uber at wherever he's going. All using G Suite. All for free, right? This is one of those examples going back to accessibility. What are some of the benefits? Increased talent and customers. This is going to increase our access to talent. We can hire people with disabilities to be account managers, to be contract generators, and have them play that role, not have to have specific teammates for it who are sighted. We have, it fosters, diversity and inclusion. Again, we got a really diverse team. Improves things for everybody. That is a lot easier than what I was doing. Is it accessible too? Absolutely. But I'd have never thought to build something this automated if I was just a sighted individual working with this process. It would have been good enough for me to go through and continue, copy pasting in and out of documents. I'd have just tried to get more careful, right? This accessibility piece really pushed us to innovate, and now contract generation is a fraction of a percent of the workload it used to be for us.
So Ethan, curious, since this is not your only hat that you get to wear with BIT, right? So we did not hire you as a full-time developer. So you had some tech chops, but how much time and how much ability do you think it takes for somebody else to be able to do something like this?
Sure. So I went from, the Google App script is JavaScript is the language it's in. I had zero exposure to that prior to starting this. I knew a couple of languages. I'd worked with VB, in a past life. I'd done a little bit of work with Python. So I was learning JavaScript on the fly, also researching how even best to implement the solution, whether this is something G Suite could do. And the effort net total spread out over a couple of years to generate this, our next form, and a variety of others was about 3 months. Just on my own. Not as a developer. More of a script kiddie who doesn't actually hack into anything. But I like grabbing code from other people's repositories on GitHub that's freely available out there, right? Why reinvent the wheel? So, yeah, about 3 months.
Thanks.
Was it worth the investment?
Without a doubt.
Okay. So my boss says it is anyway. So next I'd like to bring you to client management a little bit. And before we start actually with client management, I'd like to clarify, when I say client here, we actually have a couple definitions here at BIT. And one of them is going to be organizations we work with, companies like Google, who we're going to sell $750,000 worth of audits to. And the other is our job seekers. We operate largely with a mission of addressing the unemployment gap in the people with disabilities community. So we also have job seekers coming to us. We consider them our clients as well. And we are referring to that particular pool when I say client in this case. So essentially our CRM does a couple of different tasks. It behaves more like a traditional CRM for our organization clients, and it behaves a little bit more like an applicant tracking system for our job seeker clients. So we'll largely be looking at the applicant tracking system side right now. So early attempts. We had direct entry, sort of bulk upload approaches into the CRM for our candidates. I actually came into the organization, and this was done in Salesforce, but any CRM. And I started poking around at what we had, because of course the honest question was, hey, where's the information on all these people? I'm being asked to do things all of a sudden. Where's it all stored? They said, oh, we have something up in Salesforce. I go, okay. And I go look at it. And there hasn't been anything added anywhere in about 1.5 years, 2 years, because what happened was this got set up, noble goal, and it was difficult. This boils down to a data entry problem, right? This is essentially data entry when you're talking about applicant tracking systems. You got to enter data, you have to be able to keep it organized and access it. And the CRM was simply too complex the way we had it set up for the task. So of course, Mike, being sort of his get stuff done personality, is the type who would skip the CRM step. So these files were instead living around in Google Docs and Google Sheets and Drive, and they were floating every which way. In theory, if all of them had been there, it would have been okay, but there were also a lot in emails. Someone would email a resume, you'd forget to upload it. So there were a lot of these data entry types of problems where we weren't keeping files organized consistently. We were therefore not able to access information for other teammates, and where the data entry was inefficient and took a while. If we wanted to learn about someone's job skills and previous industries, guess what? We had to spend time talking to them. We had to invest hours in each candidate. So we needed something that was a little better. We needed something that was efficient. We needed something that was reliable, that could reliably get the information where we needed to go, that wasn't as prone to user error or laziness. We needed something that was accessible.
Guilty.
Yeah, we needed something that was accessible, and the accessibility actually became even more important because our candidate lead now is blind herself. So it's good that we got the candidate system built up to where it was accessible for her. G Suite, again, provided a great tool for us. So we present Google Forms now to job seekers. And what this allows is they are actually updating their own applicant tracking system records themselves. They just see a Google form. We know the Google form's accessible. Thanks, Roger. Ensuring the Google form's accessible. We don't need to do any maintenance or upkeep on the accessibility or worry about it. Google handles all that for us. And candidates can put their information in and not only create records in the CRM like leads, which is a fairly standard functionality, but also we can use the API to query based on their name, a lead record, and then update it with their information for data gathering. So when we now have a candidate onboarding, we don't spend 3 hours interviewing them for information they can better give themselves. We spend maybe an hour getting to know them as a person, and the other 2 hours are free for us to actually start looking for jobs for them and really further their needs and deliver our business services. So once a form's submitted, the usual routine, app script goes to work, another job seeker served. I'm going to do a little bit of a demo here. I think we got the point with Mike having the screen reader on there, so I'm just going to flip through this quickly. So I'm actually looking at the candidate contact form right now on BIT's website, and I'm going to put, I don't know, Tester McTester in for the name, and I'll actually put my own email address because it'll send me an email confirmation, so I'll get that after the conference knowing it went properly, right? And 555s for phone number, and say a 5555 for a digit PIN. Cool, next, required a demo. And to check you aren't a robot, we just have a simple little caption there. This is an easy way for us to make sure it's really accessible to everyone without any chance of things going wonky. So hopefully they can add. They put in 13 and submit, and they get a little confirmation that the candidate form was submitted. They get a confirmation email. And up here, I'm logged into our Salesforce system, and we see their tester McTester came in.
So Ethan, so knowing the framework of our website, how easy is it to embed these
effortless.
forms?
If you've used Google Forms before, there's literally a Get iframe button. You click it, copy it, put it into the website, you're done. And so one of the cool things, you'll notice a lot of details here that's kept very scattered. Like right now, we ask about registration with the Department of Vocational Rehab. We ask about education level, previous industries and career fields, what they're interested in doing. All these fields were used to be things that we would have to spend time asking a candidate on a phone call. Now, this pin of Quad 5 and their name links them to this lead record. So the next form, after we've had a brief little get to know you chat, we send them a data gathering form. The code behind that will query Salesforce, grab the record ID, and push all this back up, all for free. We haven't paid anything extra for this beyond, well, I mean, we're a nonprofit, so we get G Suite for free. But still, you're usually spending on a productivity suite in general. This is nothing above the base cost for a productivity suite. Just a little bit of work.
And the time saved for small businesses has just been epic. So we get to focus on exactly what we do well, and that's getting people jobs who are looking for work. So,
absolutely. All controlled by us. I'd like to again hammer home the message of the benefits of accessibility. There's a lot of talent in customers. This allows us to serve more customers more quickly, allows us to hire diverse talent, diverse and inclusive team. We have someone, like I said, who's blind right now managing our candidate process. Guess what? She is so much better at relating to our clients who are blind than I could ever be. I can't have that experience. So we're able to have a diverse and inclusive team that better meets the needs of our clients, our job-seeking candidates. And this makes it faster for all of us. We do have some sighted employees who are involved with the candidate process. They're more effective too. This led to improvements for everybody. Benefits of accessible design. So we're sort of on the wrap-up for takeaways. But one of the things I've been hammering through here is that accessibility is important for all those reasons I just listed. It's not just important as a moral checkbox or as a minimization of legal risk. It's not just a checkbox on those lists. It offers tangible benefits. We would never have been driven to these decisions that improved things for our entire business and allowed us to operate more effectively if we hadn't been concerned with accessibility. And you know, we couldn't just dodge this. We had teammates that pushed us into there. So learn from our experience, ideally. These have been benefits for everybody. All powered by G Suite. It's quite a powerful solution for us. The front end is made accessible by other people. You don't need to worry about it yourself. It's accessible to varieties of assistive technologies. It's not expensive. I mean, you're all spending on a productivity suite anyway. This isn't an expensive third-party add-on that you have to pay for. It's totally controlled by us. We can create and do and modify anything that we want. We don't need to go through help desks or ticket supports. Platforms like G Suite can power your diverse team.